Hey everyone, my name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. If you like making money, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to talk a little bit about different things here. I call this things about life. You guys like some life lessons every once in a while that are somewhat financial related and are also health related. Here's another clip on what I call things about life. Jump in here. Again, this is my perspective. I'm almost 40 years old, so it's from a 40-year-old male. And here's my perspective on life as I age. Here it is, happiness. We've got love, wealth, and health. We've got three there. In my 20s, I'm going to walk through this. So in my 20s, I thought it was absolutely great. Weekends were booked with friends and dating, lots of hanging out. Very good social interactions in my 20s. I would work out like a madman, always working out, played softball, broomball, did lots of car things, lots of interactions with people. I was involved with a lot of people and did a lot of things. It was basically a weekend to weekend lifestyle, playing sports during the weekdays. I could just pile through work without really giving it much of a thought. I just did it. But the things changed. As I went into my 30s, things really started to change. I was married. I had kids. The free time diminished, basically went to zero. The sports went away. I figured out people at work don't know as much as you would think because you start looking and dissecting and picking things apart at work. You start valuing free time as it starts to decrease or increase depending on where you are in that area. My free time was decreasing, so I put more value on it. And again, in your 30s, you continue to pile on the responsibilities. You pile it on at work, yourself, in terms of health. You pile on responsibilities like kids. And if you bought a house, you've got house responsibilities in terms of shoveling driveways, maintaining things. It's a whole bunch of basically a piling on of responsibilities of everything. And I think it manifests itself in people being less happy. I've got some charts coming up, and people. They seem to peak, their happiness peaks when their responsibilities are the least. So as you age, these are the things that I kind of realized or noticed is, as you age, you start to maximize yourself and who you are. And what I mean by that is the societal influences diminishes rapidly, especially in your 30s. You don't really give a CRAP on what other people think. What happens is the societal influences diminishes, and you, as your genetic traits and personality and all that, start to maximize. And as you gain more wealth, the real care or drive decreases at work, and the allure of a 3% increase starts to diminish. It's like, all right, if you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, and someone's telling you, well, you need to do this and you need to do that, and you're looking at it like, I don't really have to. I'm kind of already well off here. So you kind of look at things a little bit different. It gives yourself more opportunities the better you are from a financial standpoint. You start realizing that the real thing that is valuable is your time and health. Those two things. Everything else is garbage. In my opinion, it's really time and health. And you're seeing a whole bunch of other people trade their lives away to work 60-plus hour work weeks. They're literally trading their 20s and 30s away. And that could be some of your most valuable time. You're still healthy. You can still do a bunch of things. You can still go do whatever you want without really much problems. If you wait until your 60s or 70s, you may start running into problems. You're not as healthy. You're not as strong. You can't go climb a mountain. You can't do all those things. So what's the trade-off there? You're going to trade your 20s and 30s for a 5 years earlier retirement or what? And you start to question a whole lot. The whole reason to work so hard if you were so happy when you were young and had no money? Money wasn't the equation, was it? That's something that you have to answer. Here's a nice, simple graph. Societal influence on the y-axis. Here's your age and how it declines with time. I made this graph. It's an amazing graph. But it declines over age. And what you see is old people, they just don't care. They're old, they're crotchety, they'll tell you their opinions. They will be wearing sweatpants or whatever's comfortable, whatever the heck they want to. They don't care. They don't care what they look like. They don't care what other people think. They're living life the way that they want to live life. Here's another one, age and life satisfaction. You can see that it was very high when you were younger, when your responsibilities were basically zero, and you had some control over your life, and then it diminishes over time all the way to a bottom in the 40s. The 40s bottom, and then it increases quite substantially. This is when kids move out. It's typically around 50 years old is the average. That's why this is increasing. And it increases and increases as your responsibilities fall off and your care of many things declines. Here is the most terrifying chart imaginable for a new parent. You can see that happiness, marital happiness, declines as you get to teenagers being the oldest, and then when the children leave, it just rockets higher. It's kind of funny that you can realize this stuff. And I agree, raising kids is pretty tough. It does stress the relationship quite substantially. What I have here is perhaps we have it wrong. I was really smart when I was young. I made a lot of really good decisions. I saved a lot of money. I really lined out my life pretty well. I consider that I played my cards very well with what I had. Getting higher education, master's degree or more. I know some people ask me this. I ask them, is it really worth it? Perhaps we are measuring each other incorrectly in terms of status and all this other stuff. If you don't measure yourself through status and you just don't care, why get a master's degree if you don't need it? You're going to trade more of your valuable time to get something that you might not need. And perhaps we should be prescribing to a different outlook or paradigm. Perhaps. So let's look into that. Let's look at it from this perspective. I do understand everyone is different here. And we have different things that make us happy, different motives, different personalities. I understand that. This is from my viewpoint. Keep that in mind. If responsibility makes people a lot less happy, and if time and health are the most valuable things to humans, perhaps we should be looking at life from a different paradigm. This is kind of like a proof. If you want less responsibility and your time and health are the most valuable things, we should be spending our time on being healthy, on eating correctly, on enjoying life, and working the least amount possible, getting paid the most dollars per hour. Now, this is kind of what I've got here. I've got the y-axis being the quality of life and the work input being the x-axis. Remember, I'm an engineer by trade. This is what the stuff I analyze. If this is the sweet spot of inflection point, you want to be somewhere in here, which means your quality of life is very high and your work input is very low. So you want to put your work input and get you the best bang for the buck where this thing starts to basically flatten out. If you want to be a vice president where you're working 24/7, well, go out on the curve up here. Go ahead. Your quality of life isn't going to be any better. In fact, it could be declining. You could see this come up and come back down. Depends on the person. Here's another thing, a threshold of happiness. The threshold of achieving happiness in New York City was about 163,000 in 2010. In Pueblo, Colorado, which is 40 miles south of me, 50 miles south of me, you only had to earn $62,000 to achieve happiness. If the taxes are remained at a certain point, you want to pick a state that you can live in that has an impact on your happiness. So states, depending on where you live, has an impact on your happiness, as some states have much higher costs of living standards. Keep in mind that the income they're not indexed, and costs of living are not indexed to each other. So you make more, you get taxed more. So I think what you want to do is you want to be in a low-cost state where you don't get taxed a bunch and you don't have to make as much money. You don't have to sell yourself. You don't have to go make a bunch, get taxed a bunch, and then live in a high cost of living area. You don't have to do that. You can choose where you live in a low cost of area and make a little bit less money and be taxed a lot less and be as equal off and not have to work as hard. So my opinion is you develop a plan. Perhaps getting that master's degree isn't worth it. And here's my opinion. And again, this is just my opinion. It's not like they teach you anything to be unique. In fact, they teach you to be like everyone else and think the same as everyone else who's getting a master's degree. And in all honesty, a boring and dull job at a big corporation with increased hours and most likely even decreased pay per hour, because remember, your hours are going to go way up in some of these jobs. Is that something that you really want? What would be an acceptable plan when you go to develop a life plan? I know everybody wants, I'll get a master's degree. It's going to give you more opportunities. Is it? Is it really going to give you more opportunities? Is more money going to make you happier? More money you can retire earlier if you're smart with it, but be careful because you're trading some of your best years of your life away, possibly. Here's the ultimate plan. This is maybe my ultimate plan. Pick a job that maximizes your dollars per hour. Maximize your time. Remember that time is the most valuable thing in life. You can't get it back. It's gone when it's gone. Choose a state that has a low cost of living, but is booming. It's growing. Your real estate prices are going up. So you can live cheap and have an increasing home price, and you can always swap to another state if you want to. Then choose a job that has good coworkers and a good boss. That is what makes a job good. Not how much money, not the title. It's working with really cool people with a really cool boss who is flexible. And again, accumulate wealth over time and invest it. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. But remember, I was pretty dang happy in my 20s with no money. I could live like a monk. Doesn't matter. Now, you put a wife in the mix, you put some kids in the mix, they may not agree with living like a monk. But accumulate wealth over time and invest it for maybe potential earlier retirement if that's what you want. Now, here's priorities. Investing can net you millions upon millions of dollars. It really can. This is one of the most important pieces of the puzzle if you can get it right. Working your butt off at work or getting that master's degree may give you a delta, a difference of what you're doing, of perhaps $100,000 over your entire working career. In a net present value, it is much less and only about $56,000. So you are literally trading many hours and years of your life and all that time to get that master's degree for a net present value of $56,000. That, my friends, is stupid, in my opinion. You can do it. Go for it. I just don't see the payout. And you know what? If it's $56,000 and you're working and putting in more hours, you're actually trading your life away and doing it. You're giving them more value and putting in more work, which means that on your dollar per hour basis, you are basically giving your time away. Not a smart move, in my opinion. And you guys can disagree, and that's fine. Put it in the comments section. Love to hear your opinions. Those jobs typically want you to work longer hours, so for a dollar per hour basis, it's even worse, and your net present value would actually be negative. Negative. You'd be buying more in. You'd be putting more time in and getting less out. Basically, you enter a net sink of valuable time in exchange for hardly any money. That's the way I view some of it. And if you get past a certain point, if you're in the club, if you get in the club and they like you, obviously this can change quite rapidly. But there's a huge manager area where you're sinking in a bunch of time and not getting any money back until you hit, quote, in the club of some director or above type jobs. This is the X curve, the law of decreasing responsibility. As you get older, taking care of your future and generally more secure. We got the law of building wealth. Generally less secure on the left-hand side, younger, taking care of your family. You've got a bunch of responsibilities. And as your X factor, as your wealth increases, and as your law of decreasing responsibility decreases as you get older, this is where people become very happy, is on this when your wealth goes way up and your responsibility goes way down. That is the X curve. So tell me what you guys think in the comment section. I said a lot of things there. I know a lot of it was personally to me. You guys can disagree, and that's fine. But I really shy away from kind of upper level jobs if that time starts to increase. I do not want to be stuck at work for greater than even 40 hours a week. I'm more of a guy that I can get a lot done in a very short period of time in the mornings. That's how I used to study in college. I could knock things out. I would study far less than everyone else, and I'd get far better grades than everyone. And all I would do is study in the morning, very, very intense, couple hours at a time, and boom, I'm done. I never pulled all-nighters. I don't work like that. It makes me very frustrated with people who do work like that. And at work, they are very wait. There are benefits to waiting sometimes if you're changing things. So you have a final configuration, you get it done. But if you're waiting, and you have to try to get it on an all-nighter type thing where you have to do all this work right at the end, I don't work very well that way. I work very well on planning very well in the beginning and reaping the rewards at the end. If you work with a bunch of people that wait, they try to pile it all in at the end, it's like, I don't want to do this. I already have a bunch of money. Why would I want to do all this and wait and be at work for 16 hours in a day? Guys, what are you doing? And at some point, if you're at the end of this caboose, you just say, I'm not going to do this. I'm going home. You guys figure it out. Even though it may be my job by title, you guys have to be better prepared. And if you're not better prepared, this outcome is unacceptable. And I know a lot of people are not willing to say things like that to management, but over the years, I'm getting more. The X factor, as my wealth goes way up, my responsibilities remain the same. And I just say, it's like, you guys have to get your SHIT together, because if you don't, I'm out of here. And I know the value that I bring to the table. So keep this in mind too. There's a lot of people, you go on YouTube, they talk a lot about, this is how you interview, this is how you do X, this is how you do Y. If you can't be yourself in the interview, why do you want to go work there? If they literally, we like the old you where you were a fake, fictitious person in the interview, you need to show up, be yourself. And if they don't like you for you, you don't want to be there. That's my take. If you can't be yourself, if you can't dress the way you are, if you can't act the way that you want to act, if you have to be someone else to be working there, you're not going to like it anyway. You don't want to work there. That's my take. Leave in the comment section what you guys think. You got to keep in mind that the majority of people, your life is spent at work. And if you don't like work, it's not a fun life. So let me know what you think. Leave the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.